BBC News with Sue Montgomery. President Putin has met a group of Russian mothers whose sons have been fighting in Ukraine, telling one of them that her child had not died in vain. It comes 9 months into a war Mr. Putin began, which has seen heavy casualties on both sides and recent Russian reverses on the battlefield. He told the women he shared their pain and cautioned them not to believe what they might read on the internet. The founder of Russia's Council of Wives and Mothers, Olga Sukhanova, said she believed the attendees had been hand-picked.
The attitude towards the mothers of our country is shown clearly by this. Those who were at the meeting today were women from the Popular Front. There were deputies. This was a dialogue again amongst themselves. The Popular Front is headed by President Putin.
President Zelensky has said more than 6 million Ukrainian households are still affected by power cuts following Wednesday's systematic Russian strikes on the country's energy infrastructure. In his nightly address, he said blackouts continued in most regions, including in the capital Kiev, Odessa, Lviv, Vinnytsia and Dnipropetrovsk. Mr. Zelensky appealed to Ukrainians to reduce the amount of electricity they were using. Engineers have been rushing to repair the damage as cold weather sets in. The head of the Russian mercenary group Wagner has said that a former US Marine Corps general is working for the organization in the war against Ukraine. Yevgeny Prigozhin asserted that the former general, whom he did not name, was commanding a unit he called the British Battalion. Wagner mercenaries are thought to be bearing the brunt of Russia's fighting on parts of the Eastern Front in Ukraine. Police in Brazil have arrested a teenager accused of attacking 2 schools in the southeastern state of Espírito Santo, killing at least 3 people. 11 others have been injured. Our Americas editor Leonardo Rocha has more details.
The attack was carried out by a 16-year-old former school pupil in the Brazilian city of Aracruz. He entered one of the schools during the morning period and shot dead 2 teachers, using a gun that belongs to his father, a policeman. The teenager then drove to a private school in the same city and killed 1 student there before escaping. He was identified by the car he used and detained at home. The motive is unclear, but the state governor said he had Nazi symbols on the military-style clothes he wore.
Iranian activists say the security forces have opened fire on protesters after Friday prayers in the province of Sistan-Baluchistan. A Baluch rights group based in London says a number of people were killed or wounded, although this hasn't been confirmed as yet. Several videos from the region show people running from the sound of gunfire, while one shows a group carrying a man who appears to be wounded. World News from the BBC. The UN Special Rapporteur on Afghanistan says Taliban restrictions on the freedom of women and girls could amount to gender persecution, a crime against humanity. Richard Bennett and 9 other UN experts noted what they called a sharp increase in such violations in recent months and said confining women to their homes was tantamount to imprisonment. The Taliban maintain they respect women's rights in accordance with their interpretation of Islamic law. The European police coordinating body Europol says a joint operation across 10 countries has broken up what it described as one of the most dangerous crime networks operating in Europe and 2 other continents. It said 44 people were arrested and large caches of illegal drugs seized. Delegates at a global conservation summit have agreed to protect sharks in a move that could substantially reduce the trade in shark fins. They approved a proposal to control the trade in more than 50 shark species. Environmental groups say tens of millions of sharks are killed every year for their fins, a market estimated to be worth $500 million annually. In World Cup football, England have been held to a goalless draw with the United States. In the first half, the US failed to capitalise on a period of sustained pressure, despite having a number of chances. Nesta McGregor in Doha says England's performance was also a cause for concern.
It was a very, very different performance from match day 1, wasn't it? Remember, England scored 6 goals against Iran. Tonight, no goals, just a few shots on target. It was the same starting 11 that faced Iran, so could fatigue and the conditions have been a factor, possibly. But after such an impressive opening game, this looked like a different England squad. And I think that would be quite concerning because the team would have known that a win tonight would have all but guaranteed their place in the last 16.
BBC News.